welcome back into the Beers and Balls show. We got the college football expert back, my old man, Dad. How the hell are you today?
Son, I'm doing well. How are you?
It's we're halfway through the week. We got some big games coming up. It's championship weekend, I guess, for college football, and then you got some big games on Sunday. But before we start diving into this past weekend against Michigan, some news that happened today, and then this upcoming game against Illinois or Indiana. I'm sorry. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below if you enjoy the content. I know our last episode did very good, so we're coming back with another one. So if you guys can continue to like this comment, please let us know. So, Dad, here's the first thing I want to talk about is this Michigan game and some of the little antics that I thought were hilarious that I heard over the last few days, and I think I heard it from Rich Eisen, known Michigan guy. He said something just hilarious. He said Michigan protected the M in at midfield more than they protected their own end zone. Like some of those little antics and stuff like that. Brutus drawing the script Ohio right at the end zone, striking out the M. How much did you enjoy that?
Well, first of all, the win was big. We had been in 4 years with them, not winning the game. So for us to win and then the big house, it was great. It took the monkey off of Day's back, and now they can really focus on what they need to do going forward.
Hell yeah! And to that big Michigan win that's got. Cheers to you, Pop.
All
Have
right,
a swig of beer.
all right.
So what I thought was the biggest thing though out of this entire game, one was part of Ryan Day's press conference where we could lower ourselves to these antics of planting flags, but we're going to approach it with humility and in class because we've been here before. This win isn't anything new over the past 25 years. This is more of and it's become more of another game than it is this national championship game that it is for Michigan.
Well, if you watch some of the replays, a couple of our Buckeyes were trying to stir something up, and Day said, "No, we're going to win with class. Get back over here." And he told the coach for the team up north to get your players off the field because we don't want anything here. We're not going to do nothing, so just do that. And when I look back on that, I go back to when I used to play basketball, and winners never do things like that. Okay, and so if you go in with the thought that you're a winner, you didn't think about those things. And I think that was the most impressive thing after the game, that they celebrated like champions rather than doing something like planting a flag or something like that.
Yeah, because we don't hang banners for Big Ten championships. Maybe they do. I don't know. But it's national championship is the only thing that matters. Anything less than that is just it's a bad year. At just point frankly, it's a bad year. Now, what did you check out Ryan Day's press conference after the game?
Oh yeah,
Did you see anything into that wink he gave about being ready for when the headset went out and having to kind of play some old school football with the play calling? Do you believe there was any mischief or whatever that $10 word is done by Michigan side?
we've had a lot of electric problems with Michigan, and it happened only when we're playing them. But Day was smart enough to think something like that could happen because this happened in the past, and he was ready for it. And you know the one thing that I point out, and we'll probably get to in a minute, the game that Sayan played was out of them. I can't even believe his first real game against Michigan, and he didn't start off fast like we thought, but he didn't let him bother him. He came back and threw that ball like I told him he should do, and he got it done. So I'm real pleased what they came out with.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll jump into Julian saying right now and to just caveat off of what you said. I mean, if you go back and watch our episode last week, I talked about it on that getting the ball. Let's just go out throwing. I don't care if you throw an interception. Let's go come out firing. And that's exactly what he did. He came out
Yeah.
firing, and then he just showed the composure. I think this was such a big step forward for Julian Sain, and not just as a football player and like his skill set, but as a person going into these next 4 games, hopefully, because they're all going to be bigger moment after bigger moment after bigger moment. Because I know there was probably a lot of talk around about, oh, we were not sure if this guy's composed enough in this big time game. I don't know if I've seen a college football quarterback more composed than Julian
Yeah.
Sain in that game. He was just like, so, oh, I threw an interception. Who cares? I don't care. You care? No, because they didn't get any points off of it, that which made it even better. So they only got 3 points in 2 drives.
Well, Dave told him that interception, that's not a problem. And he came out and he threw it down the field. And, you know, two things we said last week: get off fast. Well, that didn't happen until the interception, and then it got fast, and they played their game. And the poise that he has all the talent in the world. But two things he showed me with his teammates: that he has leadership and he has the ability for his teammates to believe in him, and he goes out and makes it done. So it's unbelievable, And I go back, the biggest thing in this game was we had two freshmen going against each other. Now, Satan was a red shirt, and he saw what Will Howard did, but the other guy, he didn't have that, Underwood. And you could see night and day between their ability because, Underwood never played in a game like this before. That's so much pressure from the outside coming to the field. And, the bottom line is your state is looking for you to perform in that game because when you're a quarterback for your team, you got to win it. And you could tell the difference between a redshirt freshman and a regular freshman.
Absolutely, and it showed, and this Bryce Underwood, I mean, your prediction was right on the head. You just didn't think he was ready. He might be ready next year, but he clearly wasn't ready. The coaching staff clearly thought the same way based off the amount of times they threw, because they played like 1954 football, run, pass, punt. That was their game plan, and they made the mistake of trying to out physical and out toughen and outplay and out tough this Ohio State defense, and they got punched right back in the mouth. And it was basically like, calm down, little brother. Go over there.
Well, the thing is, and we said last week, if we shut down the run, they're dead in the water. He had 63 yards passing for the whole game, and in the second half, they rushed for -8 yards, and it was unbelievable. So, hats off to the Bucks. They played their game.
Yeah, and to speak more about the defense, just because it just came to mind now, because I remember we talked a lot about, my prediction was we're probably going to see a lot more base defense, with having 3 linebackers in and Pierce coming in, and it kind of looked like Pierce felt like he was a fish out of water to kind of start there. He was getting kind of blown up in blocks, but then once he got his feet under him, it kind of felt like that entire defense started to get together after they're like, all right, you got your one play. Now, nothing else, and everybody started playing much better. Tackling was there. I mean, there wasn't anything that this Michigan offense could do, because there was always an answer for whatever gimmick Michigan tried. Matt Patricia had the exact answer, and he did a hell of a job on Saturday. I mean, you can't give him enough praise.
And his schemes and his movement of his players before snap and all that, he didn't know what was coming. And I don't blame him because that's hard. But you can't coach somebody in that situation when you think you got this coverage and all of a sudden they switch to this. Okay, I think I know where it. Well, they just go this way, and you go, what's going on? And you could tell. And he just went down to the easy throws, and there was always 5-6 yards short of the first down.
Oh yeah, it was just a masterclass in defense right there. In a hostile environment, then you get weather included. Because once that snow started coming, you're losing your feet, you're losing all fundamentals. But to stay as disciplined as they were, all 11 guys, no matter which set of 11 were in there, all played the exact disciplined football for a big time game like that, where these guys are going to run the ball probably 40 times, and then only give up less than 100 yards rushing on a team like
Yeah.
that was absolutely fantastic. Now let's talk about the running back, freshman of the week, Bo Jackson. Did he just elevate himself now into he's going to be that next prominent Ohio State running back?
In the past, we had a couple of freshmen came along like this. One guy that comes to mind is Robert Smith. He came in with another running back, Raymond, what was his last name? Harris. Ramon Harris. They both came in, and in individual games they did okay. When they get their opportunity, but then about mid-season, Smith said, "Well, I'm the man," and that's what Bo did here. He waited, he practiced hard, and when he got his shot, he said, "Nobody's going to come in here and take my spot. I don't give him a reason why." And he keeps getting better and better and better every week. And confidence, he plays with confidence. And you can see when he runs the ball.
Absolutely. He just goes downhill. There was one play he made running to the right, or I guess when they showed a replay, he was running to our left, but on the field, the right, did a stutter move and just made three guys miss. And I was like, that's one of the most naturally gifted moves there, where it looks effortless to be in that position, to make this guy take 3 steps backwards, basically, on just a simple stutter step. And then he ends up getting, 20 more yards after that move? Because that move was made 2 yards down the field, if not at the line of scrimmage.
Well, I'm going to go back to when you played, and you were in Pop Warner, and you would do things like that. You had a different perspective in how you ran and things like that normal people didn't do. You made quick breaks and come back and things like that. That I didn't think you know how to do that, and all of a sudden you were doing it all over the place.
Hell, I probably didn't even know what I was doing. When you do get into that flow state, you just let your body go, and you can tell when athletes are in that zone where they're just not thinking. And what I think is going to carry this team, if they're wanting to have run the ball more, is what they did in that fourth quarter, bringing Donaldson in and bringing that power factor, because they couldn't stop. He would put a shoulder in the chest of anybody that got in his face. So when you get that a level of speed and elusiveness from Bo Jackson, and he's tearing you up in the first half, and here comes Big Donaldson in the second. Now you got to worry about taking this load down. That spells bad news, and it kind of felt like they got in that rhythm there. Like Hartline was or the running back coach, or whoever's making these personnel decisions. Each play was all right, we just gashing them now. Now let's go punch them in the mouth. Let's go show them what physical football looks like, and that could carry, because a lot of these teams in this college football playoff, they ain't got not great defense. Give up a lot of points.
Yeah. Well, the big thing to take away from this game, the Buckeyes know what their game is, and they know they'll be successful if they play their game, and that's all they have to do. They got to know the personnel and things like that, but at the end of the day, just play your game. That's
they know their identity, and they're not afraid to go, and which is so hard to find at this college level, is what your identity is when you have so much turnover each year. So your identity keeps changing because of NIL and transfer portal. It's hard to kind of stick to that same identity, and they found it, and it's going to push them all the way through. Now let's talk about the best player in football, Jeremiah Smith.
Unbelievable.
It's every game finds a way to just do something superhero-like.
Yeah. It's like a broken record. Every week we talk about him. They had him double team most of the game. He didn't care. He said no problem. So, he's a man above boys. So
And you can't go without talking about his running mate, Carnell Tate, on that absolute bomb. I mean, there wasn't a Michigan defender. The closest one was probably the third guy in the third row, probably the closest defender on that play. And it was just the absolute dime from Julian Sayin, too. And it wasn't it right after a turnover as well. They had like
Yeah.
one, and then they drop a 55-yard bomb.
Well, there's a couple things I want to say about that play. First of all, for saying he was rolling to his right, and all of a sudden he kind of cut back to left, set up, and delivered the dime right on the hands. So that was, and once again I'm thinking he's a freshman and he just knew exactly what to do. The second thing is up in Ohio when I was there, and it's the same in Michigan. After Halloween, it gets gloomy until about April. So as we were getting later in the game, even though it was 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, it gets gloomy, dark, and snow's going everywhere. That didn't affect the pass or the receivers. They just, oh, there you go. And that's pretty impressive in that kind of weather.
Yeah, and I think that might be that game. One sets Julian Sayin above any other quarterback right now in college football, and I think that game it might go down this year as his Heisman moment. To use cliche, their words, not mine. Because this is you think about you think back to Texas, okay, and then you kind of put Julian Sayin in the back of your mind the rest of the year because the rest of the Big Ten teams decided they wanted to suck this year. No fault to Ohio State, they wanted to suck. And then you're in this big moment. America is watching. International countries are watching, and you just dominate this game from start to finish. There. Now, what was the most surprising thing that you weren't expecting to see from this offense in this game? If anything surprised you at all?
Well, really, nothing really surprised me because the whole year you could see they were building up to this thing. Like saying early on, they were very conservative with him and what he was doing, and over the year you could see building up. We used our tight ends a lot, and over the last couple of weeks we used them a lot. And Claire had a big game, and imagine him last year. Michigan probably rolled him at Purdue, and now he made 3 or 4 big catches for first downs and things like that. And he probably said, "Man, what happened? Why do I deserve this, man? I'm on this team and we're just rocking." But they're using their players on both sides. Everybody comes in there and they're going to play their game, and when they do that, they play a great game. And for somebody else to probably challenge us in that, they're going to have to take us out of our game. Okay? And if we do lose any time over these next couple of weeks, it's going to be because of that. Because if they stay with their truck game, I don't think anybody can stop them.
Well, to play devil's advocate, on this offense, what would take Ohio State's offense off their game and get them off the tracks? What is it? Would it just be like an immense pass rush? Would it be just not getting wins on first down, like playing in 3rd and 8s or worse?
Remember, the last couple of years, and the team up north beat us, is because their defensive line penetrated our blockers and put pressure on him, on the running backs, and they couldn't get loose. That's the one thing that'll bring us down. Because as long as everybody's healthy, we got guys all over. And they showed back when Sayin's back there, you could see this guy coming over this way, this guy's over here. He just had to pick it out. And the runners are running good when the line is blocking. They get their 50 yards. So really the biggest thing that would scare me is if we couldn't hold up against a defensive line. Because that's something Sayin hasn't seen yet. And once again, if he hasn't seen it, how's he going to react when that happens? Will he run? I don't know. Will he, you just don't know. So that's the biggest thing I'm concerned of.
Yeah, like I'll put my chips on say he's going to come out the other side better than what we're thinking is because he's done nothing but prove any question of how he would react to being, oh, who knows? And he's always come out and be like, yep, he showed he's a fucking baller. I'm going to deep dive in and just try and get to know a little bit more about saying, like, as the person side to what makes him. Do you know anything about, like, what makes him this composed, cool, calm, and confident? Like, I know he's a Cali guy. Maybe it's just, like, the Cali swag, the California
Yeah,
swag, California cool, you know.
yeah, Justin Cool. You know, he just has that right. He's doing things right. He's learning from his coach. He's doing what he says. And, after the interception and stuff, he went right up to his coach, and he was probably expecting to get a few, words that he didn't want to hear. But really, coach said, that's no problem. Go back in there and make a difference. So, go ahead.
No. Finish.
No, I just said he. I think because the way Day, brought him up this year, so he's just let him develop slowly, and he's. I don't think he's even peaked yet, but we'll see.
He absolutely hasn't peaked, and what you said is exactly right. I mean, Urban Meyer even said it on a show over the weekend that it wasn't just Julian saying this year is an absolute masterclass in developing a quarterback throughout the year and how you started slow in that first game against Michigan or against Texas, not really overexpose him to too much, keep him within his game, and week by week you keep opening it up for him a little bit more responsibility here. See how you react. And it was an absolute. I agree with Urban 100%. Masterclass in developing.
Well, the most important thing was Day said to him, "Go win the game." Now, he's 19. And the coach goes, "The biggest game you've ever been in to this point, just go win the game." And he did. I mean, even, a young quarterback having a 3-and-out and then throw an interception, they could go different ways, but he came back.
To your point, we saw it on the other side with Bryce Underwood.
Yeah.
It seemed like he after like kind of basically giving Ohio State their best punch and only coming up with 6 points, it kind of feels like he just kind of got lost in the game. Definitely didn't get into a passing rhythm with any of these guys. I mean, their best receiver didn't even get a target. He got taken out of the game.
Yeah. They weren't ready for that game.
No, they weren't.
You can speculate whatever it was, but seeing them play, and I got a couple people I work with that are Michigan people, and they just said they didn't show up. I mean, they said that they were beat on all phases of the game. So, if you want to win, that's a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, it just seemed like, if you're a Michigan fan, you watch that game, you probably ask yourself, what the hell were they doing during practice? Were you just fucking playing hopscotch? What are we doing? Didn't see, like, no plan. So let's move over to the defensive side of the ball because I want to talk about Caleb Downs because he looked absolutely locked in that entire game. There was one I was like, that was getting ready to be a pick six. When they tossed it right over the middle, I was like, ooh, he was everywhere. He is a freak of nature.
Well, you can tell, first of all, he's very smart at that. And he plays his position good. But if you watched him during that game, he started playing with emotion. And when you got somebody who's strong, smart, knows how to play his position, and then you throw emotion in there, you can't stop him. And he was everywhere. And he made it, and I think a lot of those Buckeyes said, this run stops now. And I think they all believed in it. And, the biggest thing that they all said all week was, we never got a pair of golden pants. And here's our opportunity. So let's go out there, have some fun, and kick some ass. And they did it.
There's the quote right there. Let's go have fun and kick some ass, And I'm glad that Igbo got to watch Igbo play some more. Man, he's grown since because didn't watch a lot of college football, so I've definitely eaten my words when I was asking if he's still holding, and he does play with that like cage fighter mentality, and that defensive PI was such horse shit that they called on him. That was about the
Yeah,
worst damn DPI you could call. I mean, yeah, you got flagged for playing football. Terrible.
yeah. This is his last year. He knows that he wants to play in the
Oh, he's
NFL.
got NFL
So,
talent for sure.
so he had to really, hone his. I know the coaches and scouts like his aggressive, approach. And like I said, when he gets on the field, he's ready to fight for anybody. And then if he works on that, interference and try to get your hands off him at the right time, man, he can play. He really can.
And something, because I'm always looking at games and I'm always saying, like, as perfect as this game kind of was, there's still some things you want to clean up each week. And for me, looking at this on the defense, I would just like to see there being a little bit more explosive pass rush. Because I think the
Yeah.
pass rush kind of took the day off. Maybe it was just sequential to Underwood just throwing checkdowns or just not throwing, or not having enough time to get there. But every time Matt dialed it up, it seemed to get there, or at least caused the pressure. But I want to see you get home with 4 a little bit more frequently than happened in that game.
Well, when you see blood in the water, you attack, and that would have been the time to send the kitchen sink on there and shake them up even more because but they stopped. They didn't do that, but you gotta create that pressure, and maybe not in this game, but maybe the one on Saturday night. You
Yeah.
gotta have it.
And when I do my shows, Dad, for the NFL, I always ask, who are you going to give who gets the game balls? You could be 1 game ball, it could be 3, however many game balls you want to give out. Who are you giving game balls to?
Well, obviously saying, I mean, he played great, and he was making the plays. The line, he never got touched. You know, so you got to give the ball to them, and of course your receivers, they played good. Bo did good, so it's hard to just narrow it down because the thing I've said about this game, everybody played their role, and that's why they were successful.
Hell, everybody get a game ball. Fuck it. Why not?
Yes.
And before we move on to some news today, Pop, let's drink some beer. There's no beer break for you.
Okay.
So, some breaking news today. Brian Hartline took a job at South Florida. What kind of positive and negative impacts could come from this?
Well,
Well, because we're happy that he got that head coaching job because he's deserving. It's not a spite in Ohio State. He deserves it. Ryan Day probably pushing him to go and grab it. If it's there. But there's got to be some good and bad takeaways from this.
well, first of all, I give him all the support and hope he does a good job out there, and I think he will because he knows how to recruit. I mean, there's no question about that. And directing a team, the whole team, is something new, and that's the next level. He's a young man. He's going to the next level, and he's trying to move up to one of the bigger ranks in a few years. So let's see what we can do there, and maybe he can push it up. But we're going to be hurt. We're going to miss him because we're not going to get those wide receivers like he got before. But as an offensive coach, what's his name? Chip Kelly just got available. Maybe we bring him back next year.
Yeah, and I really wonder, how much did Brian Hartline's recruiting, like, what does he do differently? Or is it more of his sample size of, look, NFL talent right here. But some of the best receivers in the NFL right now were under my tutelage. Is that, like, his biggest, like, swing?
Well, first of all, he played in college and played in pro. Okay, so he knows the route. Okay, next he knows how to communicate with the players. Okay, so he has that going, And after you grab a few players that everybody's talking like all the guys we've sent to the NFL in the last couple of years, he's got it all set up for success. So that's why anybody we bring in, there's a high standard for that person coming in.
Yeah, and I might be against the grain here, but I wouldn't bring back Chip Kelly. I think there's better out there. I don't like you're getting an NFL reject, from there, and I don't know if that would sit well with recruits coming in, like a very fresh NFL reject, and then guys coming in looking to make it to the next level. It's like, what does this guy get to teach me to do? Get fired?
Yeah, well, he went to the Raiders, so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he kind of knew. I'm sure he knew that was a possibility. That's why he walked out gracefully when they fired him. He's like, "Yeah, probably. Yeah, it sounds about right."
Yeah, but the one thing about Chip is he's a very in-depth understanding how to run the ball and run an offense. There's no doubt about it. But he's not a good recruiter, and so that's really hard because we were talking about Heartline. He goes in there, he talks to these kids. He knows what they're looking for. They want to play on Sunday, and he said, "Well, let me show the guys I've said. Do you want to be? You want your picture up here with these guys? Come play for me, and we'll show it." And I just that's going to be hard to cover that piece, okay? And a lot of receivers that are coming now, and that's kind of scary. The guys that signed on today, and then by the way, Brian's gone. I don't know if this is going to impact that or not. I didn't check on the guys that signed today yet. We'll do that if we get off of this, but it probably hasn't impacted, but it could be down the road.
Yeah, I know the biggest name, Chris Henry Jr. Said he has not signed yet, and Oregon's trying to give him $1 billion. Because a report came out early. Somebody said that he officially signed, and then an hour later, it came out that he has not signed, and that Oregon and USC are making a big push for him. So that's like the biggest story right now. And then I know two other 4 stars flipped. One that you got from Tennessee a month ago, flipped back to Tennessee. And the thing is about this Henry Jr. is he said in his tweet it was because of the coaching, and he wasn't sure who they're going to bring in, and that this couldn't have happened at a worser time. I mean, maybe Ohio State had to announce this or on the day of signing day that Hartline is taking the USF job. I don't know what maybe restrictions they have there, but it has to take a hit because these recruits don't know what's coming in. But the thing that they need to remember is Ohio State's the most winning organization in school since 2000, like by far over anybody. And when you come here, it's not like you're going to like Missouri State Community College to play football. You're coming to the Ohio State University. You either play for them or you look forward to playing them. It is the premier school in the National Football League, or not the National Football League, in college football, bar none. And I don't think that's why I think the recruiters maybe takes a hit, but it's okay. Henry Jr., you want to go take a bag from Oregon? They lose every year. You want to go to USC? They're irrelevant. You'll be back next year if you could choose the school. You'll come to Ohio State in the transfer portal. So don't worry, Ohio State fans. If Henry Jr. doesn't sign immediately, he's going to realize that other teams lose, and Ohio State just simply doesn't.
Yeah, well, you're right, but still, to your point, we've got to get the right person in there. If we get the right person, he's got to have some of the same qualities in him that Harline has, and the key is the offensive coordinator. Brian was calling the plays this year, and you can't fault him what he did this year. So it's just one of those things. But he deserves it. He put his time in. he had a lot of other opportunities coming through, and he said, "Nah." But maybe this is the one that he's looking for, and I think he has the ability to be successful at that level, and then maybe even the top level from there.
Hell yeah! Congrats, Coach Hartline. We love you. I mean, and I didn't see anything come out like unlike these other stooges and scumbags like old Lane Kiffin that's not coaching in the playoffs. I see that nothing came out like Hartline should be coaching throughout the rest of the playoffs. Get him another national championship ring,
Yeah.
which is good. You know, that USF program is not a bad program. I mean, they can maybe Heartline can get them to start competing for that 12 seed in the college football playoff. So we'll see what comes from there. Now let's shift our focus to this Saturday night. So,
Okay.
8 o'clock in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Field. A game that I think shouldn't even happen. I think when you have this big of a playoff, college football playoff, they need to get rid of these championship weekends.
Well, I'm old school, and I want somebody to, when you get the two best teams in your conference play for a championship, that's really when a real true champion comes to the light. Okay, and that's what's going to happen Saturday night. You know, the Buckeyes are favored. I think a lot of people are, we're going one way or the other on Indiana, but it's going to be a tough game. At least in my mind, the first half is going to be real, and it wouldn't even surprise me if Indiana was leading at halftime. But what I'm going to tell you right now, the difference between Ohio State and Indiana, both of them got good players across the board. But the difference is depth. Okay? We can take one guy out, the guy coming in is just as good. Indiana doesn't have that. And what I'm thinking is going to be the first half is a very physical game. And then you get into the second half, and at some point, our depth is going to take the advantage. And I think, in my eyes, that's where the game is going to change. And I do think the Buckeyes are going to win on Saturday night.
Well, that's what I like to hear right there. Bucks getting the big win. The only reason I don't like it, because you as a 1 and a 2 seed, you get there's no advantage you get for now having a bye in the college football playoff. Like, so you get a bye after, but you still have to play this game. Like you shouldn't. That's why I think it should, because you're putting a game on that in all aspects means nothing, right? You're adding risk to some of the best players in the world at the college level from potentially missing the rest of the playoffs. And I just don't like that in the mix per se a possibility when they don't even have to have it. The same thing with Georgia and Alabama. These teams are already in the playoff. They don't need to play this game.
Well, son, once again, and we always awarded a champion who beat everybody. Okay, and that's what we have on Saturday. Some people are saying Indiana's a better team. Others say Ohio State. Well, Saturday night we're going to figure it out. All right. So I support those games right now because these conferences are getting so big that you can't play everybody, and so you really don't know if we don't have these games. And so I think it's for me, as Day always said, is beat Michigan, win the Big Ten championship, and then get the national championship. And I think Day's old school like me. You beat Michigan, okay? Now we're going to win the championship for the Big Ten, okay? And then we'll go get the national championship. I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and you make an absolute great point where these conferences are so big, you might play one team 1 year and you won't see them again for another 3 years because it's just so big. And it gets to this point to where when Indiana loses in the college football playoff, they're still gonna say if this game doesn't happen and Ohio State doesn't beat the hell out of them, that we were better than Ohio State, because there's a bunch of guys. I saw a podcast of a couple of jackasses doing what I'm doing right now, talking behind the mic, saying that Ohio State is not Notre Dame. They're not Florida, and these are Hoosier fans. I'm like, okay, so you must have started just watching Indiana football this year. You must be new to college football if this is your take, and you're blowing a lot of smoke where there isn't a fire, and trying to compare the most winningest college team since 2000, maybe not national championships, but overall wins, still got national championships, to an Indiana school that's known for basketball. You're known for basketball. Your basketball wins don't count for football wins. They don't count. Even if you try and do all the math, they don't count. So I just think that I agree with you. I want to shut the noise up. I want to close the door on Indiana believing that they are a number 2 team. Congratulations, you won 12. You won first undefeated season probably, or a great record-setting season. The door is getting closed on Saturday, and I'm glad you turned me over. You know, you changed my mind there. Because there's a world where Indiana loses in that second round, and they still go chirping on about how they could have beaten Ohio State. But no, we get to prove it on Saturday night, and leave no doubt.
And if you're a champion, you want the best.
Give me the best.
You want to beat.
Yeah, I'm on board with you on that one.
Right. But the real challenge for Indiana is, like I said earlier, depth. Because when you have a new coach come in and he has 45 new players, and they had some success last year, really good, and then this year they got a few more, and they're a good team, and they run their schedule. I mean, that's good. But the one thing you got to understand, Ohio State has built this team over 4, 5, 6 years, and they've got seniors leaving, and they've got 3 other classes that are moving up, and that's where you get your depth. And I think it's close, but by the 2 of them, but I think our depth will bring us out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, Indiana is only on year 2 of this build. And I think they're even a little ahead of schedule from where they should be. But they have the right, like you said, they got really good players. Now let's start with Cincinnati. What is it that makes him a good coach? Is he a culture coach, or is he an X's and O's coach?
Well, it all comes down to wins and losses. Okay? You could say the guy that's at Michigan State, well, he just got fired, so we know he wasn't very good. But a lot of times you're judged on your record, okay? And you got to look what's different about this guy. And the first thing out is he got there the first year, brought in a bunch of players, and they bought in and they won. And now they're doing it again, okay? So that tells you the guy can coach. Now, he's a horse's ass, but it works for him, okay? So, that's what we're going to have to do. And if you look at last year's game, it was real close in the first half, and then Downs went back there and returned the punt to the house, and then it just took over there. And something like that is going to happen again this year, and you'll see. They're both teams are good, but one's a little bit deeper than the other, and I think that's really going to play out. And if anybody gets hurt on Indiana, that creates problems. If somebody hurts an ankle, the next guy coming in, he's not. At Ohio State, the guy's a 4 or 5 star guy. He's played against Ohio State offense or opposite if it's defense. They're playing against great players every week. So that's where I think we're going to come out on top.
Yeah, and injuries are a part of the game. It's a violent sport. That's the only one thing I have against playing this game is that the football is such a violent sport, and a simple ankle injury can put a from one player can turn the game absolutely on the other side of its head. Um, but to kind of talk about some of these Indiana players, Mendoza, who is talked about before going into that Michigan Ohio State game, he was who people were saying were leading in the Heisman watch. But he's just not better. Like statistically, he's just not better than Julian Sayin. And I don't know if I haven't watched any Indiana, so I'm a stooge trying to talk about Indiana because I've watched none of them and trying to come up with some sort of perception about them. Have you watched much of Indiana this year?
Well, I've seen him. I haven't watched the whole game, but I've seen him a couple things, and I've seen him drive some late drives to win games, especially against Penn State. And they're a good team. There's no doubt about that. But you know they haven't played anybody like Ohio State, and maybe we didn't get to them last weekend, but Patricia might change it up here because I don't think this guy has seen pressure like we get on him. And the biggest thing is, if he decides he's going to run the ball, we got the dog back there spying on him. And if you go the other way, you got Styles getting ready to light you up. So, like you said, it's a very physical game. And if he decides he's going to run, and just like the guy at Michigan last week, he knows when he runs, he's going to get tagged. And that might change the game.
And just looking at some of these statistics that Mendoza's put up the last few weeks, UCLA, they beat the hell out of them. I don't even know if UCLA was playing football this year, but they beat the hell out of them. But a lot of these games against like middle of the road competition, per se, like Penn State, he threw for 218 yards. Maryland, he only threw 21 times for 201 yards. But it doesn't seem like this offense runs through Mendoza really, unless they're playing a top opponent. And if there is any Indiana fans that are watching this, drop it down below in the comment section what you think the way this team plays and how you expect them to attack this daunting Ohio State off defense. And who's going to have the advantage there because it's only a 4-point spread in Ohio State's favor. Ohio State's favored by 4, which makes sense. I think if it was anywhere else but Indianapolis, where they always have the game, obviously, but if it was closer to a neutral, I think Ohio State would probably be closer to 7 to 7.5. But this is basically in Bloomington's backyard, being in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
It's like 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So I think they get a little extra advantage there, but they'll know. It'll be a sea of red, so you never know who's a Ohio State fan or who's Indiana fan when they do a pan of the stadium. You won't know who's who.
Well, when you watched the Michigan game last week, you saw red everywhere. I mean, it was everywhere. Not just a couple people, they were all over. So, and Indianapolis is not too far from Columbus. I think it's about 2 hours. So,
About the same
people
travel
would go.
distance, yeah.
Yeah. So it's no problem there. There will be a lot of home people from Indiana there, but we'll travel well, and I don't think it won't be an home versus visitor. I think they're going to be both are going to be representing. So, but really, it's coming down to who's going to play their game, and if Mendoza has that same game against Ohio State, he can go ahead and, start working on his acceptance speech. If he does that, he looks like a talented quarterback, but for anybody playing this defense now, it's not easy. And he's going to have to make a lot of decisions, and sometimes people make mistakes. And how bad of a mistake is it going to be? So, but once again, I'm not worried about anybody on Indiana. I'm worried about my players, the Buckeyes. Are they going to play their game? Listen to your coaches, exercise the plan, and play the way you can play.
Now, do you think Ryan Day is going to take that same mood point going into this Saturday that he took against Michigan? Let's say and go win the game. Put
Yeah,
the ball in his hands, live and die by the arm of 10. Well, not live
you
and
need
die,
to.
but put the ball in his hand. Let him be the point guard. Let him distribute to two of the best receivers in the land.
Well, he said that to the quarterback, but he really was saying it to everybody. Play your game.
And himself. Maybe he was mirroring it to himself.
He said, I'm not going to call the plays. Let him do it. But, that's what they need. People, they know what they can do. This is a team that watched the games last year. Some of them played a lot, but some of them didn't. They know what it takes to win. And sometimes, when you go do it the first time, or you're part of something, you don't know what to expect. But a lot of key players were key players last year, and they know what's coming. And you don't take any time off till these games are over. Until then, you're all ball, and we're going to go our way. And they know as a team, and you've been on teams, and I've been on teams, that if your team plays their game, they're going to win. No question. It doesn't matter what Indiana brings. If we play our game, we win. And that's a good and bad thing. It's confident, but sometimes it may go a little higher. So you just got to do your job.
Yeah, and that, like you said, it can go both ways because sometimes you can get too far into just, I want to play my game, and not adjust accordingly to how the game is going. You can get too much into the script you came up with leading up to the week, thinking you're going to see X, Y, and Z, but then when you see A, B, C, you're just like, I don't want to adjust, and then that's when you start spiraling down. But to the other side, it's hard to stake with your identity when it's like when you're chopping at wood. When you're trying to chop that tree, trying to run the ball, get physical yards, try and make every possession count, and it maybe not be explosive plays, but you're working it down, and it's hard to stay in there when you know there's explosives there because everything is all about timing when drawing up these explosive plays. Because it's hard. I mean, it's got to feel hard sometimes when it's got to be a physical football game, handing it off to Bo Jackson and Donaldson, 25, 30 times a game, and you have Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate there. But that's just that's what this particular game dictates.
Well, if you look at the game, however they're going to do it, they're either going to start off running or they're going to start off passing. But really, if they start off passing, that'll open up the running game. And they know even if they stop it, like they did in the first against Michigan, they stopped it, but they said, "Oh man, they're throwing. They're coming out throwing." And when they do that, they didn't have 8 guys in the box. They spread them out, and that's when the talent that Bo showed. He can get through holes and he can get out there. And a couple times I thought I was really going to bust him off, all the way to the end zone because he has that ability to do that.
Yeah, you just hit some triggering words for me when you said that the pass can open up the run because I've been screaming from the rooftops about the Green Bay Packers starting to throw the ball more to open up the run because I think my biggest example that the pass can open up the run is that you can run a play action without running the ball 10 times before, and especially in those situations because both started going to work when they went from a 1 high safety to a 2 high safety, start trying to stop the pass and begging Ohio State to run. But 2 more things here for you, Pop, is first one, what's your bet for the week? You got a parlay already lined up? Anything you're thinking about for this game? Are you even gonna bet this game?
Of course. I'm going to go parlay. I'm not sure. I really don't make up my mind until Saturday. Excuse me. But, you can't lose not betting on wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys, they're going to get the yards. Smith is going to get a touchdown. Carnell may get one too. Bo's running the ball good.
Did you win
You
your? Did
know,
you hit on your parlay on Saturday?
no, I didn't.
Oh,
Claire kept me down.
oh
He didn't.
no.
I think he had to get 58, and he was like 41, and so that cost me a few bucks. But I'm not done with him. I may go back to him, but you got to believe in the players that got you here. You know, if you're looking for the one guy that nobody looks at, he's going to hit. With this team, you go with the guys that bring it every week, and you know who those guys are, and you know you got to go that route. So receivers, there's three guys I always look are the two starters and Claire. I look at Bo. I bet on Donaldson. He let me down when they were at the goal line, and he stopped them. But he's still in the mix. And I look at saying, I just don't know. It's always hard. Now, last week it was only 1.5 touchdowns, so I felt comfortable with two. At least two, and he had three, so he was good there. But you just you gotta see how the week is going. But I'll be one of those combination of those guys will be my parlay next week.
You guys heard it first. You want to win money? Bet on the receivers. Bet on tight end. And I wish there was a more defense you could get. Like, let me get this. I guess there is in some different sports books where you can bet a player to get a certain sack or more than some sacks. Because I love watching the edge rushers. Edge rushers is like my favorite thing to watch when teams on defense. Last thing, give me the keys, couple keys to victory, and then your score prediction.
Well, before we get into that, I got to tell you an old story
Oh yeah, we got
about
story time. There we go. This is what I was waiting for.
unlike Michigan, I don't have a lot of Indiana stories. Well, you go back to 1990, okay? That's the year your mother and I were married, okay? So we were newlyweds, okay? I bought a new house, okay? And the game was on at 3:30, so I was going to go ahead and mow my grass before I watched the game. And I met my neighbor that I found out was a real nice guy, and he turned out he was a minister in a United Methodist Church. Real nice guy. Well, it was also a very nice day in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we had all the windows open with the breeze, and like all the 70s and most of the 80s, we rolled Indiana. So I thought, hey, kick back. We're going to put about 40 on this, and hey, well, it didn't turn out that way. It was back and forth to halftime, and then we went up by 10. Well, getting in the fourth quarter, they scored a touchdown. Okay, so then we were up by 3. It was 27-24, and they were driving. They were driving and driving, and that's not the thing that upset me. But they scored a touchdown. But wait, we got a hold. Back it up. They couldn't score a touchdown, kicked a field goal, 27-27. All right? 1990. Okay? They kick it off, we had at about 30. Okay? So, you got to go 40 yards for a field goal. We had about a minute left, maybe a minute and a half. Okay? And this is where my love or my lack of love for John Cooper came in, is first play, draw. He gets -1. He has two timeouts left, so he calls one. Okay. I'm upset with that, but okay, now we're going there. Next one. Sweep. No game. Timeout. I'm starting to warm up my feelings about Coop. I'm getting kind of loud. And a little bit louder. And I said, You've got to throw the ball now. You got to throw the ball now. Third down with about 15 seconds left. He took a knee. And back in 1990, they didn't have, tie. If it ran out, it was a tie. I went off. I went up. I called every word between A and Z that I could think of about him. All of a sudden, I look, and your mother is running through the house, shutting all those windows, worried that my new neighbor, a minister, was going to come on over and say, "There's somebody here I need to speak with." But that was that game. When we're to the day I die, I will remember that game.
John Cooper, that fucking asshole.
He took a
God,
knee.
were you like where was during that? Where were they on like yardage? Where
They
they
were on somewhere around the 35,
like going
and when they
in?
got there, yeah, and no, they were on our end.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, Cooper said, oh, "I'm good with a tie, a tie."
It's not. I guess it's not as. I mean, it's not as bad as a loss. But you were probably going to tie anyway if you try and push the ball down the field. Like worst case scenario, if you do an arm punt, like throw a deep interception, you're still probably going to tie anyway. So why be so conservative? Like right
Well,
here.
there was no, and he'd been there 2 years already. Yeah, he'd been there 2 years, and Indiana beat him. Well, the first last year for Earl Bruce, '87, they beat us. '88, they beat us. Cooper's first year, it was close the second, but this third one, he just said, "Ty's good." And when you're the Ohio State Buckeyes, you don't say Ty will be fine, and that's still with me, and that's what 10, 30, 35 years ago. I can still remember it like yesterday. I was on one knee watching the game, and I couldn't believe it.
Was that when
So
your knees were still good, or couple
yeah, they were good then.
couple surgeries?
No, that was probably only had one at that time, but you know, that day, and of course, the good thing is I've mellowed out as I gotten older.
Yeah, that's true.
But when you have a team that really support like that, and they they can play, but you say you want to tie, and as an ex basketball player, you don't have ties in basketball, but you would never satisfy yourself then. Win or lose, but do your best and go out there and make it happen. And when I saw him say a tie is good, that's when I knew things turned with him as the coach of Ohio State.
Did Cooper ever win a national championship?
No,
And you probably said while you were cussing him out from A to Z, this is why you'll never win a national championship.
we had a lot of great teams in '96. I was there at the Ohio State Michigan game. We were undefeated. Michigan came in there, threw a pass to Ty Straits and Son Springs, which is one of the greatest cornerbacks in college and in NFL, slipped because it snowed and he slipped and the guy went 80 yards and they looked back from that. But the worst team, the best team I think the Buckeyes ever had was the 1998 team. They had it on offense, defense, everything. They had superstars all over the place, and they were just rolling through people. And that weekend, your Uncle Joe got married. So I watched the first half of it, and then I had to go to the wedding, and we were up, about probably 13, 14 at half. I'm saying this is game's over. Well, I'm riding in this bus. Took us from the church to the reception, and a guy on there said, "Oh, for all you Buckeye fans, Michigan State beat you like 35-28. I'm going, what? What? I said, he's probably got that wrong.
Who's lying to me right now?
Yeah. And it turned out, I get there, it was in Ohio, in Cincinnati, and I asked a couple guys, I heard them talking, I said, did we really lose? And they went, yeah, we lost. So, and at that time, Coop had more talent than anybody else in the country. And he laid down. We were up, we're going to win. And the coach from Michigan State was some guy named Saban. Guy down at, I think it was at Alabama for a while.
Is his brother named Nick?
Yeah. No, Nick was the one that day.
Nick. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that asshole, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but yeah, he was there, and he just had playing. And when we got up, all these superstars said, well, we'll just cruise this out. And the next week they were going to play Michigan. So they thought, well, they have it. Well, Michigan came back and beat them. So, I never thought Cooper was ever comfortable coaching. Okay? And, if he fell behind, he never could bring it, turn it around. He was a nice guy. He was a good recruiter. But, you got to have these players ready to play, like Day had last weekend. And he never had that on his years he was there.
I definitely agree with you. Now, give me your keys to victory. Give me your score prediction.
Okay. Well, kind of similar to last week. Get off fast and do your job, especially defense, okay? Because I don't think Indiana has ever seen a defense like this in the last few years. But this is a really special, talented group, and they need to go in this game and say, we're going to win this game. Forget about what offense, it may not be good, but we're going to win this game. And what I'm guessing the score will be 26-21.
Now, I'm pretty close. I'm beckoning on like two different scores. I'm thinking, like my heart is telling me like 27-10, with a couple field goals in there maybe. But my mind is telling me like 31-10. Getting, because I don't know if Indiana can score more than 10 points on this defense, let alone maybe 14. Maybe give them 2 touchdowns. I don't think they can score more than 14 points on this defense.
Well, late in the game,
garbage time stores.
It's 31-14, and they're going to get a garbage touchdown.
Garbage time. Yep. I mean,
yeah.
it's
so
that's
why.
When the game really is over, when Ohio State possession after possession is just running it, because that's all they got to do. That's what they did against Michigan. They got their 27. They knew no matter what Michigan, they could have punted the entire second half, and Michigan still would have lost.
Right.
So they got to put themselves in that position where you beat them down, you stomp on their throat, and then you just wait till the 0-0 hits.
Run out the clock.
Yeah, you just wait till then. Well, Pop, we'll be back next week after this game to recap the game and look forward to the playoffs. We'll be doing an episode once a week, once the college football playoffs, to kind of look through and watch Ohio State go all the way to the national championship, go back to back. Not back to the future, back to back. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. You know what? I got a poll question for everybody, Dad. I got a poll question.
Okay.
How many yards is Jeremiah Smith going to get in this game? Leave it down below. Closest to the actual score wins. Leave it down below. And Dad, you got any last words for those loyal Buckeye fans out there going into this game? Any words of wisdom for them?
Hey, sit back, strap in, and watch the team do what they can do.
Hell yeah. Hey, and with that, Pop, cheers to you. Cheers to all the people watching, enjoying this content. We love you. We appreciate you. Goodbye.